Commission meeting. Sorry. Should I start over?
Start again.
Good evening, everyone. I call this Lower Mackenzie Township Planning Commission meeting to order. Today is June 9th, 2026, and the time is 6 o'clock exactly. Roll call. All Planning Commission members are present except Jessica. So we do have a quorum. Also in attendance, Director of Community Development, Vince Transgooch, Township Solicitor, Mark Fisher, Township Engineer, Megan McKeon, Township Zoning Officer, Chris Russo, and Township Planner, Nathan Jones. Just a reminder to everyone that's going to be speaking tonight, please speak into the microphone. I have been listening to the past meetings, and it is quite hard to hear some people if you're not speaking directly into it. So just a reminder. The first order of business is the approval of the April 14th, 2026 meeting minutes. Have all the planning commissioners had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
Are there any corrections or comments to note?
No.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Approve.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Moving on, the next order of business is 4.1, which is 6048 Hamilton Boulevard Dental Clinic. I invite the applicant to come to the front table. I understand that you were here in February and there was some good dialogue. I'd like to start with Nate, if you want to give an update on where it is now, and then I'll go to the applicant and then the township engineer.
Happy to do so, Mr. Chair. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Great. So with respect to 6048 Hamilton Boulevard, we do have the plan in, and it has been reviewed by staff as well as the township engineer. For those who are watching from home or who will be watching after, this is the adaptive reuse of a pre-existing single-family structure. The applicant did go to the zoning hearing board to gain relief to have parking for accessible handicap parking spaces in the front, as well as the width of the drive. Relief was received for that. And with that, the applicants have now submitted their land development plan for review and consideration by township staff. A number of our previously existing comments on the planning side, such as the requirement and need for a street wall to comply with the streetscaping ordinance and the township design guidelines, have been included, as well as the sign now being a monument sign. We also have the garbage and refuse collection at the rear of the site. And last but not least, there were some minor modifications, I believe, to some complement of the landscaping. While we are still awaiting a final letter for adequacy of service from the township fire marshal, as well as a letter from the abutters at the Trexler Business Center, where the sheet flow from this development will essentially flow with their recognition of that. The site, I should note, is under the township's threshold for stormwater management review and improvement. So any water coming from the site will go by sheet flow as per the grading plan. Those are two items that staff has looked at that we do want to wait and see to make sure that we have those, just to make sure that there's a life safety aspect managed from the letter from the fire marshal, as well as the stormwater aspect. With respect to site architecture and the building, I would note that a further design companion addition that includes a full rendering would make it a little bit easier, I think, for the planning commission as well as staff to review it for compliance with the design guidelines. But that is an item that I think we may wish to have some discussion on tonight with respect to figuring out exactly what the architectural design is going to be. That's the extent of my comments. If the township engineer or township zoning officer have anything else to add, I would invite them to, Mr. Chair, or I would defer to you on a presentation from the applicants.
If Megan wants to present, that's fine.
I would say that the other comment to add is the sewer lateral and how that will be handled, and our recommendation or requirement really to replace that sewer lateral. That would be the only addition to the comments that Nate just listed.
Yeah, we recognize the sanitarium will follow up with some discussions with township staff to resolve that.
Thank you.
Chris, do you have anything?
I do not have anything additional other than what Nate had mentioned already.
Okay. The applicant, would you like to say anything related to what was relayed to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Nate did a good job of introducing the project, but again, you know, we hear back in February that the plans evolved a bit since then, but conceptually it's pretty similar. Again, it's adaptive reuse to a dental clinic. We have streetscape improvements, a walkway, you know, on-site parking. I guess one item just to go start with the planning review. I guess reviewing any of the architectural components, and if there's discussion on that, we would like any feedback on the architectural component of the building.
Okay, thank you. Let's open it up to the commission. Jen, do you have anything?
So I had proposed the thought of using the parking spaces in the abutting area, that's the First Commonwealth Federal Credit Union. Did you have discussions with them? Because it doesn't seem like that's in the plan. So did you have discussions, or were you just like not interested in that idea?
Yeah, I guess you know, with the requirement to have parking spaces on lot, you know, we were complying with that zoning requirement. I think the applicant was interested in having on-site parking for access because, you know, there is a grade elevation drop to that parking area, so having that convenience for staff and patients was important to the applicant.
Okay.
Rick?
Yeah, is there any chance to get like color renderings of what the architecture is going to look like? I mean, black and white's great, but it's very hard to get detail from that. Is that a possibility?
There were elevations that also called out materiality that we did submit, and it had some relative colors. The final color boards haven't been chosen yet, but materiality has.
Okay. That's it.
Ozias?
So it may be helpful to put up the diagrams, just walk us through the architectural diagrams, and some of the other comments were about the roof landings, given some of the things that are being done with the second floor. And so I think it would be helpful just to walk us through that. You've done a lot of things since the February meeting, so it would be helpful to kind of walk us through that. If Nate, I think you could pull that up.
Yep, in 1 second.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Changed since the original submission? Were there any modifications to this original submission?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I think all intents and purposes. Yeah.
Yep, we are.
1 second, I'm going to share this. Okay, Mr. Moore, there's 7 pages, I could.
Mr. Moore, there's 7 pages. I could go through them as you want.
So I think it would be useful to see the roof layering.
I think, Vince, if there may be the next page or two might show.
That one probably the best.
Yeah.
That one shows the materiality in it right there, yeah.
Does he have color and we don't?
So stucco wood and and some veneer stone.
Huh?
So we wanted to have some warmth of material, which is why we chose those materials. Still have the residential feel and not get too far away from that. So that's why we chose those materials, even though it's now a commercial use. And as said before, the reason why we chose a shed roof and a flat roof is to bring that roof down as low as possible architecturally so it didn't overpower the elevation from the front. So we obviously have, our ceiling heights that we had, that were our minimums we had to use, and was just, use a pre-manufactured truss and get that as low as architecturally possible.
Thank you. That's helpful.
And overall, the plan from the owner was to use the existing footprint and go up from there, so there weren't any additions of any sort on the property. With the exception of the entryway, of course. Vestibule, if you will.
And it's the lowest height.
Yes.
Thank you.
I just want to echo, I think, what Ozias and Rick were going towards on the renderings. That area of Hamilton Boulevard is something the township has really been focusing on developing correctly. And I'm saying correctly as very subjective, but it's really important to us to understand how that building is going to look and feel. And even with these these pictures of materials, it's still hard to understand the composition of them all together. Typically what we see is like a colored elevation or a rendering to get that feel. I don't know if that's possible, but I know you said the color and the materials weren't selected yet, but stone can come in so many different shapes, sizes, colors. We would like to see more about what it is that you're trying to achieve. Also with the stormwater, I'm interested to see what First Commonwealth Federal Credit Union has to say. I know you do comply with the zoning ordinance, but just to be a good neighbor, I'd like to see what they say. And then the fire marshal, obviously, we know that's a tight site, so we are interested to hear what he recommends. Anything else from the Planning Commission? Anything from the public?
I actually do have a question, just in regards to the comments, specifically the dumpster area. You're specific were to match the building's architecture. Now, is that you want masonry? Is that the idea? That's my understanding.
Which letter is that from?
Well, that was part of my comments that I got from the engineer here, so I'm assuming that was part of.
I believe that came out of the planning letter, just some additional context.
Yeah, I can speak to that if everybody can hear me. Generally, we do support, as in many other developments on Hamilton Boulevard, the utilization of masonry for the garbage enclosures. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
I do have a few things related to some of the reviews, if we don't mind going through.
Absolutely.
I guess while we're on the topic of the garbage facility, I know the engineer had a comment about the access to it, being it is a tight site. We have in there conditioned on accessing that garbage dumpster pad outside of working hours to allow for the full parking area to be maneuvered to get the truck in and out. I think there was some thought to the placement of that. We've looked at placing that kind of at the end of that driveway coming in, but I think from a visual standpoint that creates more of an impact that you're looking straight at that dumpster right from Hamilton. So I think tucking it in the back, it's kind of hidden by the building, and that can be screened to an extent too.
Yeah, I did have a question about the parking, because in the February submission, you gave us floor plans, and I saw there were 7 exam rooms. So that could potentially be 7 patients, 7 hygienists, a doctor, a receptionist. That's more than 14. So is 14 the zoning minimum?
I believe it's based on the ITE charts. So it's based on the square footage of the building. The exact formula I'd have to go back and review, but it's based on the ITE chart formula that determines, and that's where the 14 came from. So it's really a square footage basis.
From the design standpoint, it was also all of the rooms won't be filled at once, and all of them won't be filled with dentists at the same time. So, they'd be sporadically used.
Okay.
Won't all be filled at once.
Anything else?
I guess lastly, I'll just say we do have a waiver request letter, if there would be any discussion on that, but there's 2 waiver requests. One being waiver request to allow a preliminary final land development plan submission, and secondly, a waiver request for curbing along the frontage of Hamilton Boulevard. I think that's consistent with adjacent properties. We are curbing the radii of the driveway, which would also be consistent with opposing driveways.
Yeah, I know Arrow had no issue with the prelim final. Megan, do you have a comment on the second?
I would say that it's consistent with other properties in the area, and given the sycamore trees and the township's expressed desire to protect those, our office felt comfortable with that.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, that's all we have, huh?
All right, great. We appreciate you guys coming in. I know we have some letters to get to you, but we look forward to seeing you in a months.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the next order of business, 4.2, proposed zoning and SALDA ordinance revisions and amendments. Can you hear me, Nate?
Yes, I can, sir. I can start whenever the group is ready. We have, as you know, distributed draft pending version, and they're very rough draft of cleanup language, similar to what we did in the fall, based off of comments we've received at the staff level when items come in for land development or zoning relief. I have had further discussions with the township solicitor, and overall, what we're looking to do at this point in time is examine our design guidelines, which is the guide document, as well as our language, to more or less ensure that as further development happens within our commercial corridor and the 3 commercial zones on Boulevard, we are getting what we're looking for in terms of design, finish, facade, and so on. It's been about 8 years since the design guidelines and the zoning language has been in place, and we've had a mixed bag of results with some developments, and we're really looking, since the Hamilton Boulevard corridor plan, as well as our design guidelines, lay out a clear vision for the township and a clear vision for those redevelopments or developments in that area, what we can do to further ensure that the final product is in line with those planning documents. So not to go into too much detail, but that's the recommendation. And some of that language is submitted to you for your consideration and review over the coming weeks. But also we may look at figuring out other ways to fine tune it a little bit further. In addition to that, also from a staff recommendation standpoint, we are asking the Planning Commission over the coming weeks to consider the abolition of the coordinated commercial and coordinated industrial development. And the reason why I say that is because we've had a number of those developments in the past. And while some have been good successes, we found with some others that we do have projects that linger for a long period of time due to lack of completion of the multiple principal use buildings on the same lot. And so with that, we're feeling that at this point in time, it might be worth considering pulling back from that particular style and really harnessing the ordinance under our commercial development and our mixed use development on trying to see development in the township and commercial areas as opposed to the multiple principal uses on the same lot with the coordinated commercial. Likewise, as we approach build-out status in the township, both from the number of developments that we've seen over the decades, but also the township's aggressive land preservation planning activities, we feel at this point in time, the open space neighborhood, which is a specialized version of subdivision, could be considered as, at this point, more or less not applicable because we really don't have the space left for it in the township. And also, we found some challenges with that as well. And we would just like to make sure that, end users at the end of the day, specifically our future residents and current residents, are in a good spot as far as not having to worry about large swaths of open space to be responsible for, so on and so forth. So we're just asking you to consider over the coming weeks what we could potentially do with those. There's no need for an answer tonight, but staff is recommending that we remove them at this point in time. So that's the long and short of what you've been given. And again, just for discussion purposes this evening, we're just asking you to digest it over the coming weeks and maybe have a more robust conversation in July about it.
Do any of the commissioners have any initial comments, questions? Okay. Thanks, Nate.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next piece of business, 4.3, staff and department report.
I can provide one item and then I would hand it over to our department director, Mr. Tranguch. I can note that we've been in touch with PSATs about the training and we are registering everybody. So you will get information about how to log in before the end of the week to complete your planning commissioner training through PSATs. It'll come probably in an email from myself or from the organization. But just so you know, I know that there was a high level of interest from planning commissioners about that, and you will be able to have that training. And it's on demand, so whenever your schedule allows, you'll be able to log in and watch the seminar.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just two things to report tonight, just as a progress update, right? So the Planning Commission usually sees these projects, makes a recommendation, and they go to the board. Commissioners, they get approval, and then there's a pretty large gap before they get recorded until we get the final check sets. We get the agreements done. So anyway, just a report tonight that since the last meeting, two projects have been recorded. One was 6130 Sauerkraut Lane. That is a two-lot subdivision for two single-family dwellings. So currently we do have the one building permit application under review right now. So that has been recorded, and a pre-construction meeting is scheduled for this Friday. So that does involve the only public improvement really that involves is a sewer line extension to serve those two single-family dwellings. So that is underway. The other one was the Spring Creek Estates 2022 modification of plan. That is the corner of Steinway and Lower Macungie Road, and that modification added another set of 4 townhomes, so a townhome with 4 single families in it. So that was recorded as well, and that building permit has been issued and is actually underway. So just kind of want to report on things that you have seen, maybe you haven't. I don't know how far back those go, but that's, other than that, just progress. So be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Great, thanks, Vince. Any questions from the commission? All right, seeing nothing else on the agenda, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. The June 9th, 2026 Lower Macungie Township Planning Commission meeting is adjourned at 6:25. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, Nate.
Thanks, everybody.
See you, Nate.